And by the title of the video, you're not going to be jumping for joy out of your seats because you'll know that I made a mistake, and probably a pretty big one. Hopefully not as big as the worst case scenario is. So, just to cut to the chase, this is the status of the engine. Obviously, one of my last updates, or as you saw in the time lapse of the video, I got the driver's side head on, and guess what's not there anymore? The driver's side head. So what ended up happening was I was torquing everything down as it should be. However, I watched the video just to reconfirm what I had to torque down to, but I had my big torque wrench that does all of the torque settings instead of using my dedicated inch-pound torque wrench, which obviously should have been used. So I put the decimal place in the wrong position, and instead of 174 inch-pounds, I was actually cranking down to 1,740 inch-pounds. And obviously I caught myself short before that because the torque wrench didn't snap. I think the bolt would have snapped before. So as reference, I have the passenger side head here. So these these 8 bolts that I just pointed to get torqued down to 174 inch-pounds. Divide that by 12 for the foot-pounds. I'm not doing that math in my head while on camera because I can't. I need paper or a calculator. These 4 get torqued down to 84 inch-pounds. Well, thankfully it was only the first one, and I believe it was the bottom one. That was the one that I cranked down on, and I caught myself. I loosened it up, thinking I could fix the problem. When I loosened it, it was spinning freely, much as this one is and much as this one is. And just so you all know, these 4 are actually torqued down to 174, so I can give myself reference that, the freaking cams still spin freely. However, so when I took the bolt out that I overcranked, and it was still the same length as the other bolts, which was good. However, when I went to go test it, I put it back down to where as I tightened it down, the ratchet just comes to a natural stop. And I tried to turn the crank, and wouldn't you know it, it wouldn't turn. So I loosened it just ever so slightly, and then it started to turn again. So I tightened it back up, didn't turn, loosened it, and it was still a little bit snug. Obviously not completely, so it wasn't, because it wasn't torqued, and the cam spun freely. So I put the valve cover back on it, and I was like, I'm gonna run it like this. But better judgment, I went inside, rested for a little bit, had a night to sleep, and then got up the next morning, still had the day to think about it, and I decided I'm going to take it to the machine shop because I was going to try to run it, but this is a dedicated, well, it's used more on the track than it is on the street, and I don't want to take any chances with this. So I decided against my judgment of the night prior to take it to the machine shop and see what's going on. Hopefully that cam cap can be smoothed out and recirculated, or whatever the terminology is for it, re-clearanced. But that was on Monday afternoon. It is Wednesday evening now. So it's still been sitting there, and they do have to outsource it to another shop. So hopefully they can get that done relatively soon. Like on Monday. But I also, when I posted a Instagram post, I'm happy I had 2 friends that reached out and were like, hey dude, your flywheel looks torched. And my other buddy said, hey man, please go and resurface that, please. So I took their advice, and I went to the machine shop and dropped off the flywheel, and here's the result, which is much shinier and much cleaner than it was before, because this is just a couple hours after I picked it up from the machine shop. So they resurfaced it, and ended up having to take off 12 thousandths. So that was good. So while I was there, I asked the guy if he would recommend me getting a new clutch disc as well, and he said absolutely. I saw no problem in that because it's only a couple $100. But long story short, I ended up getting a new clutch kit. So comes with obviously pressure plate, the disc, pilot bearing alignment tool, and the release release part. Gosh, forgetting the title of it. Anyway, comes with everything. But as you can tell, like there's plenty of material still left on the clutch disc itself, but the center has some heat spots, and obviously the pressure plate doesn't look too pretty either. So I ordered it and got a special deal on it just because it's close to the weekend or close to when they're doing their Christmas in July sale. So I have all that on order, and I also have some assembly lube and fastener lube on order as well, because I have a feeling I'm going to be doing this quite a bit more in the future, so I just wanted to be covered. So that is the update. I'm trying to be more transparent, and I see this as like a common theme that's going on right now. Most recently I can think of is when Cletus and the crew were on the first day of their cheap car challenge, and Lumberjack's engine blew up, so they had to put a junkyard engine in it, and they forgot to put the lifters in. They caught that on camera, they let everybody know. So just being transparent. Obviously I don't work on my car nearly as much as they work on their cars, but I think that leads to me being more prone to making mistakes. Hopefully this is the biggest mistake I make, and hopefully the line hone takes care of the head issue that I got going on. So until then, you know, this is just what the engine looks like, and the only good part of it is I get to continue staring at it and looking at how pretty it looks on the inside. Hopefully with the camera you can still see the cross hatching that's in there, but I still think it's insane that something this small, the cylinders are bored out to 99.75 millimeters, which is tiny. I know the video probably doesn't give any good perspective of it, but the fact that this thing is rated to 775 to the crank, and you know, take away roughly 20 to 25% for the wheels. Again, I'm not going to try to even do the math on that, but that's what it can produce to the wheels. So yeah, just overall, y'all, it is upsetting because that mistake happened on Monday night. I was hoping to have the engine ready to be dropped in over the weekend, and instead now I'm gonna have to wait over the weekend for most things to arrive. I know the clutch is supposed to be here by Monday afternoon, if not Tuesday. So if the head gets done on Tuesday, I'd be happy as well. And I'll probably end up pulling an all-nighter or something because I want this thing done. I don't have a huge timeline, and I also don't know where that came from, but whatever. I probably just got it all over me. I don't want to rush it, but at the same time, I want to get it done. I have a road trip that I want to go on, and I could take the Honda, but I'd prefer to take this, even though it doesn't have cruise control. But taking it on a road trip to Tail of the Dragon and going go-karting at Atlanta Motorsports Park. So that's all. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to let you all know. It's upsetting that the engine's not put together, and I took, you know, 2 steps forward and I took 4 steps back. So it's really discouraging, but we'll get this done. So until next time, y'all, stay driven and focused. And until next time, have a good one.